Well, good morning, Cam.
Good morning, Mitch. How are you?
I'm doing well. I realize that not everybody's listening to us in the morning, but we are recording in the morning, so I'm owning that. So
Indeed.
nice and early because we've got a double header today because we've got to record for Thanksgiving weekend. So that way we get something out there for the loyal fan base.
For sure. We are doing the double header, the double decker, the back to back. And it's gonna be wonderful.
Yes. So we were talking a little bit before we came on about the Lions and the Thanksgiving schedule this year. They're not playing on Thanksgiving this year.
Amen. Hallelujah.
No. You had opinions about that, didn't you?
About them not playing on Thanksgiving? Oh, I think it's
Yeah.
a wonderful decision for them not to play on Thanksgiving. One less chance for them to embarrass themselves nationally. But I was saying this would be the one year that I would, if we were playing on Thanksgiving, that I was hoping that we were playing the Cowboys because we'd actually have a chance at winning that game. But this weekend they are playing the Washington football team. Tomorrow they are playing the football team of Washington, District of Columbia.
Yeah. So I found that really hilarious when I first saw that. And I kind of get the purpose for it, but what was your opinion of that?
So I have strong feelings about this.
Washington football team.
They were getting pushed around and, really essentially peer pressured into changing their name from the Redskins to something else, and for very good reason, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not mad at all that they were forced into changing their name. I think it's a good thing. I think that there are some other teams that could and should follow suit. But then they decided, okay, you know what? It's really close to the season. We're gonna get rid of all of the imagery, all the logo. We're gonna remove the Redskins name from everything, all apparel, all jerseys, all the logos from the stadium, everything. We're just gonna wipe it all away. We're just gonna get rid of it, and we're not gonna rush into changing our name to something that we, don't have the time or the clarity that we want to have going forward.
Right.
So we're just going to be the Washington football team for a year, which I actually really respect, that they didn't let the peer pressure push them into a decision that they were going to come to regret in a couple of years and have to change and redo over again. So they just said, okay, great. We're going to take what we're being told. We're going to do the right thing. We're going to not have that name and that logo anymore. But at the same time, we're going to take our time defining and figuring out what we want to be and what we want to represent going forward. So for a year, we're going to be the Washington football team. If people are crapping and dunking on them left and right, oh, what a stupid name. They couldn't, oh my gosh, you couldn't even come up with the name. Wow, what idiots. It's like, they did the right thing. Leave them alone. Plus, their football team is horrible. So, just rub some salt. They did the right thing. Let them be. They'll have a name next year. I don't understand why everyone is so outraged and just making fun of them. They did the right thing. You should be saluting them for finally. And this is after years of stories coming out that the corporate culture is toxic and sexist and chauvinistic, all sorts of bad stuff. They finally did one good thing. You should be supporting them in that.
Yeah,
that's my opinion on the whole situation.
And I definitely agree. I still think it's hilarious every time I see Washington football team. Just cracks me up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of ways they could have gone with it, right? They could have just called themselves Washington and not had to say football team, right? But
the only thing that would have been funnier is if they would have called themselves the Untitled Football Team or the mascot-free football team.
The team formerly known as.
Team formerly known as, yeah.
No, yeah, so I think all the outrage and the backlash that they've received for not choosing a nickname and a logo as fast as people wanted is just stupidity is all it is.
Have you ever dealt with a name change like that from a school you've gone to or anything like that?
No, I have not.
So when I started at North Central University up in the Twin Cities, we were it was North Central Bible College when I first started going there, and they changed to North Central University basically just as I was starting to go there. and their mascot was the Flames. So as a Bible college, they realized that the culture had changed. The definition of the term flames or a flame was changing a little bit. So they put a vote to the student body, like what should we be? Which I didn't have a problem with what they ended up being, but
well.
yeah. So they gave 3 options. And the amount of discussion that went on at the college when they were choosing the name was just hilarious, because they ended up going with the Rams, which to me, there were jokes about being the sacrificial ram,
not any better,
and stuff like that.
Oh gosh!
But they had a cool logo. The logo was pretty mean looking, and it was fun. But I would personally was for the Sabres, but the sword of the word and all and everything. But yeah, but I just thought that was hilarious. When I first started going there, they were the North Central Bible College Flames.
Now, the only thing that bothered me the most in college, I went to Taylor University, and we were purple and yellow were our colors.
Yeah,
like LA Lakers, purple
or the Vikings,
purple, bright yellow. Yeah, or the Vikings, exactly. But all of our sports teams were purple and gold, like same purple as the Vikings, but like UCLA or Notre Dame gold.
Okay.
Instead of yellow. And it drove me crazy because the school colors were not purple and gold. They were purple and yellow. Everything else on campus, anything branded, any marketing, any apparel, anything, purple and yellow. Yet our sports teams were purple and gold. And it just bothered me deeply. And it's like UCLA does that. Their basketball team is blue and yellow, and their football team is blue and gold. Like, why is there no consistency here, people? It makes me crazy.
I can understand that. It would have probably drove me nuts too.
Anyways, that's enough of that. I could talk about sports aesthetics for hours.
Mm-hmm. So you drove me crazy a little bit. The other day we were in the show doc together, and we were doing some editing, and I see something on there that says Cam has a surprise. And
I have a surprise, Mitch.
And what's your surprise?
I'm not telling you. You guessed once already in the show notes, and you were wrong. So I'm gonna be a bad podcast co-host to make you wait.
You're gonna make us all wait until the end.
Yep, I'm gonna test your patience or your curiosity, because one of them will run out before the other.
Well, my first thought was it had something to do with the event that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but I also realized that there's quite a few other things it could have been as well. So, but all right, I'll try and be patient. Settle down. We'll just move on with the show. So last time we were talking, we talked a little bit about Logos, and I think that was my pick for what was delighting me. And I mentioned that I really wish that Canvas would come to the iPad. Now, it is not in the iPad app, but if you go into the iPad app, there is a link. They have a little more section where you can scroll up and down and get to your documents and stuff like that. And there is a link in there for Canvas. I saw that. And I'm like, seriously, they brought Canvas to Logos? So I clicked on it. Well, no, it actually takes you to the web browser, and it goes to Logos on the web to use that Canvas feature. Now, I have yet to figure out, I suppose on Logos on the web, I can pull up canvases that I'm working on. But it opens a new canvas when you do that. So thought that was interesting. So just wanted to add that to the show. It is not impossible to get to Canvas, just not easy. That, and I didn't try using the Apple Pencil with it at all, so I'm not sure if that is gonna that's gonna work properly or not.
Yeah,
but macOS Big Sur,
some sort of access to it though.
Yep. So have you updated anything to macOS Big Sur yet? I have it installed on my
my Mac Mini. I did.
On
your MacBook? Yeah, I installed it on my Mac Mini yesterday.
Yeah. So
I've played with Control Center a little bit in the widgets, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
that sort of stuff. Glanceable.
I keep grabbing I keep grabbing my mouse. I've got my laptop in front of me and my iMac. I keep grabbing my mouse that's connected to my iMac to use my MacBook. That doesn't work. But I really like it. I don't know what your first impressions are of it, but we can definitely.
Yeah, it's one of those. I always feel like with the Mac OS updates, it takes me longer to figure out the differences, other than the obvious. It looks more like iOS in certain ways because with iOS, the changes are generally a little bit more drastic. The Mac OS system is mature and has been mature for years and years and years. So we're not getting crazy new features like we have been on iOS the past couple years. So I always need to take my time and look through I don't think I've opened Safari yet, so I haven't seen any of those changes. I haven't opened Photos or anything like that, so I haven't seen the new sidebar that I know is there. I've really just the control center and the widgets is what I've really played with yesterday, and that was about 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I've been looking at this. I updated day and date, so I updated on Thursday night actually when I got home from work. So I played with it a little bit yesterday, and I have it open in front of me this morning. I would say the visual style of Big Sur is probably the biggest thing that I like. They cleaned it up a lot, so I have some screen captures in the show notes. You can go to my website and look at those. Just the visual style. I love the new wallpapers. Have you looked at the wallpapers at all?
I'm looking at them right now.
I love these new vector graphic wallpapers. They are so pretty.
Yeah, I have that vector one on the phone. When they updated 14.2 or whatever, they added new of these dynamic vector art ones for your iPhone wallpaper too.
What?
Yeah, man. It's pretty dope.
Let me look.
Here, I'll hold my phone up so you can see.
That would be, ooh, that's pretty.
Yeah, and then at night it's like that deep purple. It's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have to change my wallpaper again. Dang it. I just got settled. I just made this wallpaper. There's the screen capture I sent you the other day. Just made that stupid wallpaper, and now they went and changed it on me again. And all right, but at any rate, but the wallpaper I really like. The menu design. When you go to the menus, you notice there's a lot more space in between everything. I swear they changed the font a little bit.
I actually think you might be right.
These menus look so clean and much easier to read than before. Dude, I do not have those wallpapers on my phone. Did I?
Are you running 14.2? Yeah, the new menus are. I love that we're getting so excited about menus, by the way, but
but it's something that really needed the cleanup.
Well, and it's an integral part of the system, right? It's something that you interact with incredibly regularly.
All right, so I'm updating on the show.
All right.
So hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me. Well, it's not like I'm updating the MacBook that I'm recording on. So
yeah, I know.
And by the way, I'm sorry, the iMac that I'm recording on. By the way, I'm not updating this yet. I need to everything's working fine on my MacBook here for the next couple of weeks. I may decide to update my iMac, but there's just too many things that I rely on my iMac for work and stuff like that, for doing the podcasts, for doing stuff for the church, stuff like that. So, if there's anything breaks, I'm in trouble. So, but yeah, the menu design, what was next on there? Control Center. I like Control Center. I'm not sure that I understand why or what the purpose is of being able to drag the stuff that's in the Control Center into the menu bar, because you can do that, right?
You can drag Control Center where?
you can take like let's say you got the Wi-Fi icon at the top of Control Center. If you hold down on that, you can drag that into your menu bar. And then it allows you to get to the options a little bit faster.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a nice little touch. I just don't know that I see a purpose for that when you've got Control Center right there. I guess it saves you a click, but I don't know. Control Center looks nice. I like the organization of it. Customization is going to be key, I think, going forward, but I like it. So, and I'm sure they'll add that. They added that to the to iOS. So, but messages too. Have you looked at messages yet?
Yeah, I have.
It took me a minute because when I first logged in, they had all the icons vertically on the left-hand side. It took me a minute to realize that you actually, if you want your pinned ones to look like they do in iOS, where they're, you know, the little circles at the top, you have to actually drag the sidebar over to make room for it. But once I did that, yeah, I like it a lot. Looks clean. I think it'll work better. I actually haven't used. It looks like there's there's a few things in here so far for applications, and I don't see access to an app store at this point. But message effects. So they do have options for message effects in here. So I haven't played with that yet, but maybe I'll send you a message after the show or something. That'll be fun. So a couple of things that we talked about. What?
I said I await your message.
So there's a couple of things that I was worried about when it came to Big Sur, and really, honestly, I wasn't sure that I was going to update this early anyway. But when I saw Rogue Amoeba had initial compatibility ready for a lot of their apps, and some of them have full compatibility now, but the initial compatibility basically just meant that they had a few bugs to squash yet. But I have been able to go in with some of the Rogue Amoeba software that I'm running. Sound Source seems to work just fine. I tested Audio Hijack before the show. That seems to be working just fine. No issues with that. So, you know, that's all I've tested so far, but it looks like Rogue Amoeba software is running just fine. Now, that's not to say that if you rely on this, that I'm saying, hey, go ahead and do it. You know, it definitely isn't going to be a problem. It's probably best to wait until Rogue Amoeba says, you know, they're fully compatible and ready to go, and there's nothing to worry about. Because I'll tell you, you know, if I updated my iMac and all of a sudden everything stopped working, that would be a pretty significant issue. So Adobe Audition works just fine as well. That was another one of my daily apps that I needed to make sure that worked properly. Do you use Bartender?
I do not.
Okay. Do you know what it is?
I do.
Okay. So I run a lot of menu bar apps just because I'm weird that way. I just tend to like a lot of these little applets, or, you know, even some of them will just give you some good information. And when I updated, they did say that Bartender 3 was not compatible with Big Sur, but they had Bartender 4 ready. And it is a paid upgrade, but it was like $7.50 to upgrade. I think it's $15 or whatever for a new license. I like it. They cleaned it up a lot. It looks nicer. I think the biggest feature addition outside of just changing the menu system and stuff like that, which is definitely was needed because the menu system, even though it wasn't hard to use, it was a little bit, you know, if you didn't know what you were doing, it was easy to not know how to do stuff. It wasn't intuitive, I guess is the term. But they also added the ability to put spaces in between your menu bar icons. So I'm experimenting with that a little bit because I do like the idea of being able to have some space in between, like be able to group my stuff together and have a little space in between the ones that you know, like I have Sound Source. Sound Source has three icons on my screen right now, and if I open an app and I'm using audio on that app, it'll pop the app in there as well. So what I'm hoping to do over time is have all of those load right into that space. And that way it's all separated from all the other things in the menu bar. And so I have a space there. I've got a space to kind of divide out. Like I've got Dropbox and OneDrive kind of sitting by itself. So it just visually, it cleans it up a lot so that it makes it easier to manage. One thing that was a little bit annoying is that Big Sur makes it harder for bartender to do anything with the system, the system icons or whatever you want to call menu bar items. So some of them you can't move. You can't move. Like I used to like to put, what's the name of this app? Of course, you're not going to just tell me. It's a stats app that I use on here. And I'm going to have to pronounce that now.
Oh, iStats menu?
No, it's a different one that I switched over to. iStatistica Pro. But at any rate, this app, I used to love to tuck that away over closer to the edge of the screen, maybe over by the clock. And I can't do that with Big Sur now. It has to sit over on the left-hand side of all the system menu bar items. So it is what it is. It's a minor thing, but slightly annoying. Do you have anything to add when it comes to Big Sur?
No, I'm still like I said, need to really dig into it. So I will perhaps have more information or opinions, feedback in 2 episodes.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at this wallpaper. I have the river wallpaper on my MacBook right now. I'll show it to you, but of course the audience can't see it. But that is just pretty.
Yeah, it is.
So well done. And of course, being a dynamic wallpaper, it changes color throughout the day. So it's just kind of like a little surprise every time I open my MacBook to see that. So I like it. Can't wait to do that on my phone. So, and I think I'm done updating, but I'll wait here until you get talking about something to mess with it, so I'm not distracted. Well, you ready to talk about the event from this last week?
Yes. I'm excited.
Question to kind of lead off the segment here. Of course, Apple had their November event this last Tuesday, and they talked a lot about the Apple Silicon and their MacBooks, Mac Mini, which we'll get to here in a minute. But I have a question right off the bat. I love Craig Federighi, but that scene with him looking at the laptop, that was creepy. It was funny.
Let's set the mood. It's already an internet meme. Like it was that as soon as the event was over, people were posting memes about it.
One of the best things I saw.
Too, but I feel like.
Go ahead, man.
Go ahead.
No, one of the best things I saw.
Craig.
We have some latency in the. This is all going to have to be edited out. We have some latency in the in our audio here, so.
Okay, that explains that.
Yeah, but I'll just say, one of my favorite things that I saw this last week done with that was the connected album art, where they replaced the center circle with a picture of Craig Federighi looking at the laptop.
That's funny.
I'm sorry. Go ahead and say what you were saying.
Oh, just I like Craig and everything, but I feel like he's starting to become a caricature of himself. Like he feels like he has to do something goofy every time now, or say something that he knows is going to get retweeted or become a meme. And it's like, all right, I don't know. That's just it's one of those where like you can tell he's trying to like make the joke or make the meme now. At least that's how I feel about it.
I'll just say it's great marketing on Apple's part. If it
Oh
is,
yeah, no, it's not.
because it's
Not.
hilarious.
Yeah, and I like that they can have fun with it. You know what I mean? And I like that they don't take themselves too seriously.
No, because that you certainly can fall into that trap as a huge company like this. To start, having events where there's just no humor, no, you're just facts and figures and features, and I think we've seen that before. But Apple keeping it light and whimsical and stuff like that definitely is part of their stagecraft, really. So I like it. All right. Well, what can you tell us about the M1 chip?
I took lots of notes, Mitch. So they started off and said the M1 is optimized for smaller machines, which I thought was some incredible foreshadowing. Because I don't know about you, I did not expect the first Apple Silicon Macs to be the MacBook Air, the Mac Mini, and then the 13-inch MacBook Pro. We were so set on the iMac, right? Because we'd heard so many rumors it's going to look like the iPad Pro, the new iPad Air. It's going to have Apple Silicon. It's going to be amazing. And that was one of the reasons why it was really, if I'm remembering correctly, why you thought so long and hard about buying the iMac that you did, whether you were going to wait or not. So when they led off with it's optimized for smaller machines, I was like, well, this already took a twist that I wasn't anticipating. But if we can pause there for a second, I think it's absolutely brilliant that Apple's leading the silicon, their Apple Silicon Macs with the MacBook Air, the MacBook Mini, and then the cheapest MacBook Pro. I think it's a market grab, it's a land grab, it's putting their best foot forward on their cheapest machines first to ensure that the adoption rate is high. I think is a brilliant move.
And I think that it's been speculated a lot this last week because of the architecture of the chip, that this is really designed for the smaller machines.
Exactly.
That once we start looking at the larger MacBook Pros, there's been talk. I think there might be a little foreshadowing of a Mac Pro Mini in the future, possibly. Because the system architecture of these chips has all of your RAM on board. So there's no customization of that. I mean, you can't go in and do anything with that. So how do you really give your pros a pro machine? And that's where you get it, is these SoCs will be so beefy. I don't think that it's beyond the realm of possibility that they offer your 16-inch MacBook Pro with a M1X or some kind of beefed up chip, because right now, from what I understand, the controllers on these M1s are limited to up to 16 gigs of memory and 2 Thunderbolt ports. So you have to have a beefier chip to get more Thunderbolt ports, because your 16-inch is going to have 4. If they drop that to 2, people are going to pick it outside.
Riot.
Riot outside Apple Park. So they need that beefier chip to handle that. And I think we'll probably see 32, maybe 64 gigs of memory on some of these machines. Now, that said, you don't need as much memory because it is, built into the chip. So at least that's been my understanding of it.
Yeah, well, nerds like numbers, so show me 32 and, they'll be happy.
Yeah.
So it's an 8-core CPU with high performance and high efficiency cores for different, different tasks. It's apparently the world's fastest CPU core, the high performance ones. In the efficient ones, they can deliver the same leading PC performance, which they use such generic terms when describing PCs. It's like, is that like a Lenovo ThinkPad with like 8 gigs of RAM, or is it like a Razer gaming machine? I don't know. You didn't tell me, but apparently at a quarter of the power, 8-core GPU. 16-core neural engine, which makes machine learning stuff super, 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 super fast. So, and it's tiny. It's itty bitty. It's like it's like a postage stamp, which is just. And they brag about the 5 nanometer process, and it's the world's first chip built at that with that process, and yeah, that's great. You know,
Transistors on
they're
an
brushing up
atomic
against the
scale.
edge of they're brushing up against the edge of physics at this point. So,
Yeah.
which is I think a bit terrifying.
You know, it gives me pause a little bit, but I kind of wondered if it was just the old man in me. So, but so let's talk about the hardware that they introduced.
Yes.
You said it earlier, and I kind of agree. It's an interesting lineup for them to kick off with. The MacBook Air was not a surprise to me at all. The fact that they
it was to me.
Yeah, I thought that they would start on the low end because to me, you want to get this in the hands of people. You know, if you would have started with the 16-inch MacBook Pro, which, just got an update not that long ago, but your lower ends needed the update. They hadn't been updated in a while, which is another reason why I suspected the iMac, the 21-inch iMac, was going to get an update because that one's long in the tooth too. They updated the 27-inch, but didn't update the 21-inch, 22-inch, whatever it is. So my thought was that's a shoo-in. They're going to have a 24-inch iMac that's going to replace that with Apple Silicon, which I think is still going to happen. It's just obviously not going to be until next year sometime. But probably I wouldn't be surprised if it's in a March event or maybe the WWDC next year. But I don't think it's too far off. I think that's kind of a no-brainer to me that they're going to update that at some point. But the surprise for me was the Mac Mini. I did not see that coming. Updating the MacBook Pro was a little bit of a surprise, I think, too. I thought when they did the MacBook Air, I figured, you know what, if that's the only machine that they update, I think that they've got a strong contender. But then they did the Mac Mini, and then they're like, oh, let's do the Mac Pro. So there's not a lot of spec differences between the Pro or the Air and the Pro. The biggest, and
there's,
what they did.
Go ahead.
Is they're clocking the chip differently.
Yeah.
So that's why they've got a fan on the Pro.
Exactly. That's exactly why they have the fan in the Pro and not in the Air, so the Pro can handle some beefier stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the Air can still handle multiple streams of 4K ProRes video at the same time and not drop a frame without a fan. So it's not like the Air is some little, scooter,
right.
doing like it's got some horsepower, but the Pro obviously has more.
The difference is the Pro can handle the sustained load versus the Air is going to be able to spike up to that. But at some point it's going to have to come down for thermal reasons. So
yeah.
But yeah, that Mini, the fun and the thing that made me laugh throughout the whole video and made me question why Apple has not offered a display yet beyond the XDR display. They kept showing the Mac Mini with the Pro XDR. And you realize the stand for the Pro XDR is more expensive than the Mac Mini. I mean, you're talking about $1,000 or $6,000 for the display and $699 for the computer. So the computer costs
absolutely absurd.
The display costs 10 times more than the computer does. It just cracked me up.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Why they didn't say like, oh, and by the way, we have our regular display available. And come up with some other fun name for it, but not the Pro XDR, but maybe just a standard XDR display or just our Apple display. I don't know why they cede that to other manufacturers to make, but so no AirPods. It looks like that's going to be pushed off till March.
Yeah, and I wasn't like upset about it because I don't need new headphones. I don't want new headphones, but it just seemed like right before Christmas, that's a slam dunk. So there has to be a reason why they didn't do it, right? Technically.
Yeah, they would have sold an obnoxious amount of them.
Exactly, right. So it's either technology issues or supply chain issues is my guess.
Because my wife's in the market for a new pair, so and she wants a Pro, so it'd be kind of nice to see the AirPods Pro get updated so that she could get an updated. Not that I'm really sure what they would update on those. You haven't heard any rumors.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I've heard about the studios is that they're over ear.
The studios are over ear, but the AirPods Pro,
Yeah.
I don't know that I've heard any rumors as to what they're adding to those or what they're changing.
No, I don't. I mean,
shorter stems again. I think it was rumored.
that's so stupid.
I would never want to lose my hearing, but I think I would love to have Bluetooth hearing aids. I think that's the future of the AirPods Pro. I just want to stick them in my ear and leave them in my ear all day, and never have to take them out because nobody knows they're there or they look like a medical device. That's my dream. What do you think with the new MacBooks? Let's say you got a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro, and maybe that's the surprise we're waiting for. I don't know, but what do you think about it replacing an iPad Pro or iPad Air? Because I'm kind of feeling like I don't really need the iPad as much.
So I did get it in MacBook Air. That is the surprise.
All right.
And when I saw this on the show notes, I was like, yep, we're going to have this conversation, because I had to have that conversation with myself too. So I got the 16 gig, 1 terabyte MacBook Air so the full 8, because the MacBook Air, you can either get a 7 core or an 8 core. So they even crippled the chip even more for the entry level one. So I got the full 8 core, 16 gigs of RAM, which is the most you can get, and then a 1 terabyte SSD. And the reason I did that is because the Mac Mini I have has 8 gigs of RAM and only a 256 gigabyte hard drive. So the MacBook Air is going to be way more powerful and have way more space. And so that will become my MacBook Air will be my production machine. It'll be where I edit all of my photos, where I edit all of my audio, and where I edit all of my video. So it's going to be the workstation. It's also going to be what I use for my music. So recording all my music and plugging in my MIDI stuff and doing all of that. So like it is a production laptop. And that will allow me to free up a ton of space and headroom on my Mac Mini and just let that be, where I do all of my work conferencing and like prepping for youth group and that sort of like, just like the normal computer usage stuff, web browsing, doc text stuff, video chatting, that sort of stuff. But then I had to have the question about my iPad, right? Why get the MacBook Air when I have a very capable iPad Pro, which I love and I use every day for a lot of stuff? And the issue for me is the 3 things I just stated: podcast editing and recording, photo editing, video editing, and then music production and editing. I can do Lightroom on my iPad Pro. I can do Photoshop on my iPad Pro. So that's the one place where there's crossover, right? But I don't have Final Cut. I don't have Logic on my iPad. And that's what I use to do my video and audio editing, whether it's podcast or music. And so if I was able to have Final Cut and Logic on my iPad, I wouldn't have bought the MacBook Air. But those are such key programs to me and what I do and what I like to do that it forces me into having a device that I can run them on. Now, if next year Apple releases Final Cut and Logic on my iPad Pro, I'm going to be pretty pissed because I just spent a not insignificant amount of money on a new laptop. But so yeah, that's my thinking on it is I need a machine that has the power and the storage space to allow me, because right now I've got my MacBook Mini has multiple hard drives attached to it just to handle Logic and Final Cut. And so if I can put those on a machine that already has a full terabyte, then I can just use those hard drives as backups for my laptop and not as actual needed storage that I have to have connected all the time. So is having the MacBook Air a luxury? Absolutely. But it's one that I'm happy to have because now my production machine can go with me and it's not tethered to a desk. And it actually is full featured, which is the reason I spent the money.
Yeah. So I was looking at my MacBook Pro this morning to see like how long have I had it. So I had it for about 4 years. I usually figure 5 years is when to start thinking about replacement. I've been typically getting about 7 years out of my Macs. So, it's not necessarily that I'm going to pull the trigger right away next year and get a new one. but at least start thinking about, planning for it. This machine has not been faltering for me. It's been working just fine. But then the question comes in, well, if I can get a MacBook Pro that I can run some iPad apps on, what would I be replacing on my current, what would I be replacing on here with that, and what would I be losing if I just took this and tossed it in the garbage, which we'd never do because it needs to be recycled, but what would I be losing? At least I'm saying that on the podcast. We don't throw this stuff out. We throw it on a shelf somewhere and it collects dust forever. But what would I be losing if I didn't use this anymore? And I think, the conclusion that I came to is the Apple Pencil is so nice for taking notes, for, with the scribble feature, you can take some, say, really nice notes. I like it for reading. I just downloaded, and did I put it in the show notes? I don't think I did. The Big Sur review on Mac Stories. I put it in the show notes, but I forgot to put it in our document here. But John Voorhees wrote up it's like 170 some pages of stuff on Big Sur, and to sit down and read that on my iPad would be nice. At the same time, like, you can kind of do that on the phone. So do I need that? I do like taking this to work with me. I've got purposes for it at work, so where I wouldn't necessarily do that with my MacBook. I don't know. There's still a place for it, I guess, but after having a MacBook Pro that can run iPad apps and iPhone apps, I don't feel like from the software side of it, I'm missing anything. It's more on the convenience side of it and what it can do hardware wise versus a laptop. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think for me too, the reason I still will keep my iPad and use it every day, one, is like you said, the interaction with the pencil and just the tactile nature with which you interact with the software on the iPad. Also, I teach at youth group every week. I play in the band at church and I preach at church occasionally, and I do all of that. All of my sheet music for music is on my iPad. All of my teaching preparation is on my iPad or my iMac. I teach from my iPad. I take notes at church on my iPad. I would feel super weird if I had a laptop on my lap in church typing away to take notes. Somehow this is much more socially acceptable than bringing a laptop to church.
You're talking to the guy that was taking his laptop to church 15, 20 years ago already, where like nobody had electronics in church. So
yeah. So while obviously the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air are incredibly portable, there are conveniences and more social graces around having an iPad in places that, I just don't want to be that guy, right? Clickety clackety clacking away, while people are listening to a sermon. But yeah, it's the interactive nature. Like, I don't want to play games on my MacBook Air, right? I want to play games on my iPad. I want to, engage with certain things on my iPad in ways that I don't want to on my MacBook Air. Like, that is a work machine, and this crosses the boundary of work and play in my mind. So it's definitely a luxury. And if I had to choose one over the other, and if I can only have one, I would choose the MacBook because of what it affords me for production level stuff. But luckily, I'm in a position where I don't have to choose, and I feel blessed because of that. So I will gladly use both to their fullest extent.
Agreed. Yes, I'm due for an upgrade on that, and I've been kind of holding off until there's money in the budget for it, which there hasn't been. So, and there's been more important things. Yeah, there's been more important things to do. So, like this beautiful iMac that's sitting in front of me. I pulled Logos up on this thing when I had my pastor over here the other day, And I just sit back and I'm like, my goodness, this looks beautiful. I was like, I just ever so often I just sit back and was like, oh, this is such a beautiful computer. But anyway, this year has been, and we're going to talk about this on the next episode, but this year, you know, for all the craziness that we've had, this year has been such an amazing year for so many reasons. So, you have anything to add, man?
No, just looking forward to my new laptop showing up in a couple weeks. So it's not going to be here before Thanksgiving. So it won't be here until first week of December.
No.
At the earliest, because I ordered, you know, the upgraded RAM and hard drive. So it wasn't one of the ones that was ready to ship right away, which is fine. I will gladly wait, but I am looking forward to that arriving.
I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about it, because there's been some talk about how cagey they were about the iPhone and iPad app. What's the word? Compatibility for the system. Yes, it can do it, and that's about all they said. And so they didn't demo anything. They didn't, you know. So anytime you see that with Apple, you gotta think they don't seem too like confident with this, because they didn't demo anything, you know. And I don't know if that was just the lack of apps available to do it or what, but it's like that gives me pause. So I'm interested to see what your experience is going to be with that.
Yeah, I'm willing to give that stuff a long runway though.
So this is kind of a follow-up item that we probably should have had earlier in the show, but OmniFocus did finally release their widgets in the regular app. So off the beta cycle. Nice. So if anybody's been waiting for those, they are now available. So, all right, man, what's delighting you?
Mitch, it is officially winter beer season, which is the greatest of the beer seasons, without question, and I will fight you on it if you disagree.
I like beer.
So you disagree and you don't want to fight about it. Okay.
I be quite honest with you, I just haven't gotten that into like lots of variations of beer, just because there's been so many. Like, I'm so not an IPA guy. That bitterness that IPAs have just do not engage me. Like, I don't like it. Leaves a weird taste in my mouth. It's just, you know, I like a good light citrusy wheat beer. You know, I love, I don't know if you've had Spotted Cow from New Glarus here in Wisconsin, but that is my jam.
Yeah.
Like, it's painful to go anywhere and not be able to have that. Blue Moon, I do like a good Blue Moon. I like them light and citrusy, and I do enjoy a good stout every once in a while. I don't dislike it, but that I have to be in the mood for it. So for winter beers, I've had a couple that I haven't been super excited about, but that's not to say that there aren't winter beers out there that I would enjoy. So I'll just say that. Living here in Wisconsin, we know our beer. I'm just not that. I haven't been real engaged with a lot of the specialty stuff. So, and I don't drink Bud or Miller, or, you know, the domestics, so to speak. I have more respect best. For myself than that. Right. So I do feel the need
to is great.
Yeah, I do feel the need to not that I have any problem with folks drinking, but I do feel the need as a podcast that does talk about a lot of religion and stuff like that. There are folks out there that really disagree with drinking. I don't have a problem with it. It's mostly the drunkenness that the Bible calls out as being evil. So, you know, if you drink in moderation. That's all I'll say, because some people are going to have a hang up on that. All right.
That's okay.
So I had like I had quite a few things that I wanted to talk about today for things that are delighting me, but I settled into one, And then we were talking just before we started recording, because I was putting my Switch on the charger, my Nintendo Switch on the charger. And so I popped a second thing in here. So I'm cheating a little bit this week. But first, I found this on Amazon, and my wife is awesome. I was talking about it, and she's like, well, we'll see. I'd love to buy it for you for Christmas, but kind of need to get it before Christmas, and the reason for that'll become evident shortly. But the other night, she comes walking out of the office, and she says, I got you a little something, and she hands this to me, and I'm like, ooh. She's like, I was gonna wait until December to give this to you, but she's like, I just couldn't wait. So I sent you a picture of this, and I brought it down to the office with me. Stupid camera, where is it? It's the Lego Star Wars Advent Calendar. So
nice.
The Lego Star Wars Advent Calendar, it has it's an Advent calendar. 24 days on here, goes through from December 1st through December 24th, and every day has a little Star Wars themed Lego project. So there's just little tiny things. They're nothing super big. But there's some droids on here. There's a little model of the Veru family, or not the Veru family farm.
Lars.
What was their last name? The Lars family farm. Thank you. There's some minifigs in here. There's a Sith Trooper minifig. There's a Luke minifig. And then there's 2 holiday minifigs. I don't know if you can see this. Let me hold this up once and see. Do you see the Darth Vader with the Christmas sweater on? And there's a Poe Dameron in here with one as well. He's got a little Christmas sweater on with a Death Star on it. And Poe Dameron's is a green Christmas sweater with BB-8 on it. So seems appropriate. And then there's just a regular Rey in there too. But no Christmas sweater on.
I have a very important question. I have a very important question about your Star Wars Advent Calendar.
Yeah.
Is there a Jar Jar Binks?
There is not, thankfully. But there are some B1 battle droids. Let's see if I can get
such
this
an
up
oversight.
There's a B1 battle droid if you wanted something annoying.
No, I just don't know why Jar Jar's not in there. That just seems like an oversight.
Well, I probably wouldn't have been excited about it if it would have had a Jar Jar in it. Oh, and with the Mandalorian coming back, there is a Razor Crest. I don't know if you can see that. I can't see your video.
You're just rubbing dirt in my wounds here, Mitch, and I don't like it.
Yeah. All right. The other thing that I was excited about, maybe a little less excited about, but I thought this was really cool. Nintendo recently released a game called Super Mario 35. And I saw it a couple of times. I think it's free if you are a Nintendo Online subscriber, which is like $4 a month. Why not? Or like $20 a year. So it costs next to nothing to do. What they've done is they've taken the Super Mario Brothers, the original Super Mario Brothers game, and they've turned it into an online competition. So the idea is you unlock different levels. Of course, you start with the initial level, and then you unlock levels. You're unlocking power-ups. All the regular power-ups are in the game, but then you can unlock additional power-ups. And the whole idea is that 35 people get dumped into this game, and then whoever lasts the longest wins. But there's a couple of additional features in this that make it a little bit more fun. One of the major things is that as you kill the enemies, I forget all their names, but as you kill things, they get thrown to other people's maps. So they get more and more, and as you go, you get more and more and more of these all over your map. But the other thing that comes as part of that is, if you're familiar with Mario Kart, when you get a power up, there's a little like roulette wheel that rolls up at the top to give you an additional ability or whatever. So in the game there, once you've gotten, I forget, like so many coins, I think it might be like 20 coins, it will give you a roll of the roulette wheel. So you hit the X button and it rolls the roulette wheel and it gives you a power up. So it'll instantly like give you the fireballs or the invincibility star, or something like that. So what's really cool is when you've got all these guys running around the map, and all of a sudden you get to spin the roulette wheel, and you get the star, and all of a sudden you just hold down the B button and run, and you're just killing all this stuff as you're going, and it's sending to your opponents, and it's just hilarious. It's great. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's what's delighting me. Mostly the advent calendar, cool. But the Super Mario 35 is a lot of fun too. So
sounds like it.
Well, you got anything else for this episode of the show?
No, man. Just excited for what's coming in the mail in a couple weeks.
Yep. I'm excited for you. I think that'll be fun. That's basically the machine that I wanted to get my wife at some point, because all she has is her phone and an old, like, busted MacBook Pro of mine. But so she does all her computing on her iPhone 11. So it'd be nice to get her a machine that she can use.
Absolutely.
So cool. All right, man. Well, we'll wrap up the show for today. If you would like more information, or you'd like to check out our back catalog of shows, check out innerdialogue.show. And you can also find us on Twitter. I'm Mitch Craig.
And I'm Cam Brennan.
He is Cam Brennan indeed. So check us out. If you got questions, comments, just hit us up on Twitter, or check us out at innerdialogue.show. All right. Well, it's been a blast. We'll see you back here for the Thanksgiving edition of the show coming up in a couple of weeks. Cam, it's been fun.
It has. Farewell.
Farewell, sir.